Hi, I'm Marty Emko. Another of my experiments. Some calling it Asked and Answered. These are questions I wish people would ask me. And what I'm doing, what makes this so hopefully innovative, is I just listed them. I sat in my easy chair with candles on and just thought, well, it'd be fun. And I just listed them in whatever order came to me. I imagine that's not random. And now, with no preparation, I promise you, these are the answers I would give if I were sitting in a bar with somebody, and at my age, I'll be 75 in June. You have nothing to lose by being really honest, and maybe something to gain, not for myself, but we live in a world of BS, and I like to think that I try to bring authenticity to whatever I do. So here we go. First question: why am I not a liberal? After all, I'm a child of Holocaust survivors, Jewish, grew up in New York, liberal place, went to Berkeley, PhD from Berkeley. Because I have come to believe that my most deeply held value is that merit trumps everything. Yes, every group, from African Americans to Jews, can claim victimhood. Ugly people like me can claim victimhood. But whenever you use something other than merit to choose who to get into college, medical school, who to hire, who to promote, everybody loses. The candidates who didn't get the job, who were more meritorious, who would have been better on the job, loses. The co-workers lose. The employer loses. The customers who are buying the product or service lose. Society overall loses. So if I were an autocrat, if I were, the media likes to call Trump the king rather than a president, if I were a king, I would really fight for purely merit-based decisions. This is certainly, if I felt an African American or a gay person or a disabled person was the most qualified for the job and was not selected because of that, or ageism, or whatever the hell it is, ugliness, I would fight for that person. But I believe that merit is the most important thing, and that is at the whole notion. What makes a liberal? It seems reductionistic, but it all reduces to redistributing from society's greater contributors to less, whether it's from the United States to developing countries, whether it's to the rich to the poor who have contributed less, whether it's from Jews to blacks, whether it's from abandoning ability group classes where bright kids were in the same class and could learn more, to mixed ability classes. All that's redistribution, and that is core to everything that is liberal. Also, why people favor the Palestinians, even Hamas, this torturous, violent group, liberals tend to prefer to Israel because Israel has more. I think that's at its core. Okay, so that's why I'm not a liberal. Okay, next question. Why do I like animals and plants better than people? Now, it probably has something to do with my own limitations, but I've had not good experiences with people. I am so often disappointed in people, either because I feel they're too self-absorbed, or they don't keep their promises, or they're so sensitive, I have to watch my every word. And people out here in California are not direct, so you don't really know if you said something wrong, so you have to be really careful, because it's not like they're going to give you an instant, they're not going to bark back at you. They'll just passive-aggressively get you usually. So, whereas my sweet doggy, or I hybridize roses semi-professionally, and I like growing things. Like from the old show, The Fantastics. You plant a radish, you get a radish, never any doubt. But when you have children, you don't know what the hell they're about. I'm bowdlerizing that. But anyway, so I'm more comfortable. I'm also too intense. I don't fit in the world. And being a non-liberal, especially in today's era, where the anti-Trump movement is doubling and tripling down on their hatred of Trump. And I don't love Trump, but I think he is more pro-merit, which is my core view. All the media talks about is how he's shutting down everything, but they don't mention the upsides. I know something about education, a lot about education, to tell you. That's my PhD is in the evaluation of education from Berkeley. And so much of the money is used to gain power over what's in the classroom. So many layers of bureaucracy. I would indeed cut out the U.S. Department of Education. That still leaves the state departments of education, the regional departments, the districts, the school boards, the principal, the parents' council, teachers are marionetted. My wife's the superintendent of schools at Napa, and she's won all kinds of national awards. And yet she is very marionetted by all of those, the bureaucracy, the reporting requirements that are made by legislators or academics in higher ed who don't really understand what really goes on and could go on in the classroom. The other thing I might mention, by the way, a parallel thing, I guess I'll go to the next question. If I was Secretary of Education, yes, I would close down the U.S. Department of Education. I would stand up to the unions. None of this lifetime tenure after 2 or 3 years, because a teacher can be okay for 2 to 3 years, but over the course of their 30 or 40 years in the field, they are going to burn out. Not all, but too many. And yet their phalanx of lawyers will defend them forever. Not good. I would also demand the use of what I call super courses. World-class transformational professor teachers teaching students with a paraprofessional, perhaps in the classroom, especially for younger kids, or at minimum, at least a pilot test in which those world-class online instructors using interactive video, AI-assisted individualization, translated into every language so that every kid, rich and poor, from Alabama to Zululand, gets this world-class instruction. At minimum, it would be mandated that it be used for homework. And to ensure diversity of thought, it would be a team of different, it wouldn't be just one person, say, teaching history. It would be perhaps a liberal and a conservative or something like that. So that, because really, wisdom comes from examining the full marketplace of ideas. If you truncate it only at what's left of center, there are mistakes. I was just reading the play Angels in America. They make every conservative seem like a total selfish asshole, an idiot and short-sighted, where if you're liberal, everything is wonderful. It is simply not true. There is wisdom across the spectrum. The conservatives focus on merit, and colorblindness and efficiency are very valuable attributes. Inclusion has a value, but it is not the trumping, pardon the pun, value. So I would demand, so that's what I would do if I was Secretary of Education. All right, next question. If I had a do-over, and this is perhaps consistent with what I just said about education, I think about all the years I spent there, including getting that damn PhD. Not a good use of my time. I was either bored, or it was too hard, or it was too irrelevant, or I couldn't sit still, and the teachers would say, you're brilliant, but you're a pain in the ass. I would have dropped out of school probably in the 9th or 10th grade. I was also never popular because I'm too intense and opinionated and know-it-all. I love to learn, I really do, but I am a self-starter, and I would learn by reading, watching. Today I'd be watching YouTube videos, I'd be talking one-on-one, I'd have mentorships, I'd have tutors, I'd all that. But classes were just not appropriately paced, the content was not what I needed or was interested in. Not a good use of all my years from when I still started high school at age 13 or whatever it was to when I finished my PhD at 28 or 29. It's a lot of years, a lot of hours sitting behind a desk bored, or certainly not optimally spending the time. What's my favorite activity? It's just, again, a random question. It's my walk in the morning. Unfortunately, as I get old, I get up too early. I get up 6-ish, 6:30. And the dog's got to go out. So I live about a mile away from a very nice hilly climb, which is very good, good exercise. I'm grateful I can still do it. And end up at a cafe, which is very quiet. It opens at 7, which I'm grateful for. And I sit there, having had that little bit of exercise, with my dog. They're very nice there. They let the dog in. The dog actually sits next to me on this sofa thing. And I then look at my clients of the day, and I think of what I'm going to write. And it's very peaceful, and I love it. I just love it. It's my favorite activity. Speaking of which, my favorite possession is related to that. It's this little $10 thing. It's less than $10, whatever, called a flip note. It's just a tiny little memo pad that fits easily in the pocket. But you can't lose your pen because it won't close unless you put the pen in. So I love Flipnote. And you can, anyway, why do I love it so much? Because it clears my mind When I have an idea, I don't have to remember it. I just write it down, so my mind is free to focus on whatever, whether it's what I want to say to a client or to my wife, or a to-do thing I have to do, or an idea for a tweet, or an idea for something I'm going to do with you on YouTube. This is gold, and I keep it with me. It's with me all the time. Favorite possession. What angers me most? Transportation policy. Even the so-called roads budget is often allocated to things to make it more difficult to drive, because the environmentalists who dominate the transportation budget will do anything to get us out of our car, even though it's that rare island of peace from the crazy world. If I'm in my car, it's a quiet sanctuary. I can listen to an audio book or nothing, or veg out at the temperature I want. Whereas if they force me into mass transit, not only does it take longer, not only in the summer are people sweating and it stinks, not only is there the danger, which is not that great, but there is danger, unfortunately, in big cities on mass transit, but it takes longer because not just the trip itself on the mass transit, but getting to it and parking there or walking there, and then you reach your destination and you got to walk to your office or whatever. It's a nightmare. And what are they doing to get us out of our cars? They, instead of building more lanes to accommodate traffic and stop us from having this blood pressure raising gridlock in traffic, they're reducing lanes. They're making them into carpool lanes. They're turning them into bike lanes. They are turning them into shrub clumps. And then on local streets, they are closing some streets off, or they're putting speed humps. And now they're giving automated tickets. Even regular parking tickets here in the Bay Area cost $100 roughly. That's usurious. I just read that California collected just every year over $846 million just in parking tickets, on top of all the other taxes we pay: federal, state, FICA, property tax, sales tax, tire excise tax, over $1 a gallon in gas tax. So the transportation, on my street and a number of streets, like I live on a small street, they repaved it. It didn't need repaving, but that's how the enviros can say, oh, we are, talking to the Republicans, well, we're spending on roads and infrastructure. They're repaving roads that don't need to be repaved. Not always, but often. They build roundabouts that are more dangerous, with 4 or 5 different people can go into there, and everybody has to slow down and cause more accidents, and costs a fortune. It takes them forever to build one of these roundabouts. So what most angers me most of anything is that our enormous amounts of our tax dollars are used, instead of making easier for us to get to where we want, to have the freedom of mobility, they're making it harder. What makes me happy? Very little. I was just thinking, it's really, at best, it's like little things like getting stuff done. I'm directing a play, and I have to do, directors don't just direct. They have to do, I had to build a bench from a kit. And I got a certain amount of pleasure. It was very frustrating getting it done. Some assembly required. I was grateful when it got done. I like getting stuff done. That's about as happy as I get. I guess I have moments of joy in a movie, or when my wife and I are giggling about something. But what really enduringly makes me happy, mainly getting stuff done. Petting my dog, I do like doing that. My biggest sadness, for sure, I had a troll for 30 years, and I have a feeling I know exactly who it is. Can't swear, but I'm pretty damn sure. And she was very brilliant, a lawyer, and as a she, I'm almost positive. And she absolutely used all her lawyerly skills to get me terminated from very prestigious publications. And so when you lose your platform, unless you're Hillary Clinton or something, your books aren't going to sell. And my articles, I have lost my platform for writing. I'm writing on Medium, which gets very few views. And these videos get very few views, whereas I had a show on NPR for 30 years. I was a columnist at Atlantic at Time, Washington Post, U.S. News, all of that, and the troll, using her same modus operandi, I know it's the same person, anonymously used the same strategy, very lawyerly and utterly unfair to deplatform me. So is cancel culture, the 3 C's. Censure, censor, and cancel. This censorship from the left dwarfs the McCarthyism from the right that the left keeps talking about 75 years later. So what makes me saddest is I'm very proud of my writing, and very sad that my books aren't selling because I have no platform. I do commend you going to Amazon and checking out my books. I priced them really, really cheap because I don't care about money at all. I really don't. So that sounds like I'm a liberal, but I really don't care about money in the slightest. And so I priced them crazy, like $5 a book or $1 or $2 per Kindle book. I'm very proud of them. I invite you to look. My books, like How to Do Life, or my companion volumes, Light and Dark, Secrets, Affirmative Actions, Thought Experiments, Careers for Dummies. That's not published by me. That's one of those Yellow and Black Dummies books. I'm very proud of them, and I commend them to you. Okay. Last question. I look down on unconventional people. Why? Convention has got a bad name. In every movie or whatever, it's always some iconoclastic rebel. But in my long life, I've met many people, clients, friends, strangers. Being in Berkeley, you get to meet a lot of them. They are less productive and less contributory on average. I mean, the ones who are really iconoclastic and make a difference, they make a movie out of them, or they can appear on Oprah. Most of the people who are most contributory, which is what I really care about the most, are pretty conventional. They don't do drugs. They don't waste a lot of time doing on their hair or on their clothes or whatever. Like Mark Zuckerberg, he has a dozen gray T-shirts because he likes them. Doesn't have to take any time in choosing clothes. He puts his time to making a difference. You may or may not agree with what Facebook Meta is doing, but he is trying in his way to make a difference and focusing on that. And it's not trying to be unconventional. In any movie, anybody who's in a suit, who's rich, especially if he's a white male, is going to be evil. Conventional people in general are responsible. These are dirty words these days. Duty, responsible. Not a procrastinator, not some artistic creative who writes just, slams paint in some weird way so it's different, or that famous installation, Piss Christ, where a Christ is with a bottle of urine in his crotch or something. Most people and their unsung heroes, whether they are clerks, whom I really like, the Trader Joe's clerks who work hard and are kind, or the medic. I have a real special place in my heart for the basic research scientists who work in quiet anonymity and they'll never get rich despite being brilliant because they hope to cure cancer down the road, even though they may go through their whole life and never do more than close in blind alleys. But they're not unconventional. They're pretty damn conventional. And so that's why I tend to look down on, metaphorically, the people with purple hair and who are proud at how out of the box they are. The box is there for a reason. The box has been created over thousands of years or millennia, and to shun it because you want to be different is shallow. And so those are questions I wish I were asked and my answers. As usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And certainly would welcome you taking a look at any of my 34 books. They're all, the ones I mentioned are kind of relevant. How to Do Life is probably a pretty good one. And also, this is going to be a podcast, so fortunately my podcast is available on all the major podcatchers, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. But in any case, I like to end all my podcasts with one of my favorite phrases, which I believe is more relevant today than ever. It is not from me. It is from a guy named Frank A. Clark, and I have no idea who the hell he is, but I love the quote. It is, "We find comfort among those who agree with us, growth among those who don't."